I was happy to see Lamar Jackson not want to point fingers at Mark Andrews. Take a listen to Lamar after the game.
It's a team effort out there. You know, he's been busting his behind, he making plays happen out there on that field for us. Came up short. And like I've been saying all season, every time we in situations like this, turnovers play a factor. Penalties play a factor. Tonight, with the turnovers, we can't have that, you know? And that's why we lost the game, because as you can see, we're moving the ball wonderfully. It's hold on. I'm sorry for my language, but it's annoying. I'm tired of it.
And you can't expect anything more from your leader than accountability, and that's really how you have to view it. It wasn't his fault. It's a lasting impression. He should have caught it. Don't lay a finger on Andrew's Butterfingers.
Oh.
He had a bad fumble, but he wasn't the only guy that fumbled.
Yeah.
And again, there was so many moments throughout the game. It just doesn't come down to that.
Well, turnovers.
So he's absolutely right.
Turnovers, not only your favorite Sunday morning little treat.
No, but
But the name of the game,
I really
is.
think Lamar Jackson nailed it right there. We all need to view things from that perspective and keep that in mind when watching these games. It's not his fault. It's a team game. But, man, that was a big, big moment to not catch the ball.
If you go back and look at the replay of the 2-point conversion drop,
Yeah.
his bad footing had a lot to do with mishandling that ball.
It did.
course.
Because of the slick surface.
Yeah, you saw something slip there, but a tough loss, and I think handled really well from Lamar Jackson in that moment.
You got to ask yourself, though. This is where I want to go to those little windows. In life, in dating, at work, every aspect of your life, you have windows of time to really get to the next level or accomplish your goal. I know guys like Gary Vaynerchuk on Instagram and TikTok's back. They'll tell you that you could start your own business and become an entrepreneur at 80 if you want. Far and few between does someone peak at 80 years old, unless they're a cast member of The Sopranos, unless you're Paulie Walnuts and your big gig came as an old Goomba gangster at 60 years old.
He was a real gangster before the show.
So I think
He was
Lamar,
doing research.
he's not old by any means. By any means. But he's turned 28, 6-1, 14-2, 11-5, 10-7, 13-4, 12-5. Since he entered the league, 3-5 in the playoffs.
Oof.
And winning season after winning season after winning season. And you got to credit the Baltimore Ravens for continuously putting a good product out there. But as you love to tell me that the 49ers window, may be closing. Can you say the same about everyone that after years of just falling short, like eventually it's like, yeah, time.
See, I don't see that as much with the Ravens because they got Henry now and they have more weapons, and it seems like they got better this year. And I don't see Lamar Jackson losing any steam. I think this is a simple matter of turnovers, losing the game, and we saw a lot of that over the weekend. You can't expect to beat these teams, these high-caliber teams, when you're having that many turnovers. But, I mean, everybody has an expiration date, Rich. I mean, you don't have all the time in the world to make it happen. I just don't think it's the case for them.
I'm just saying, if you're at a job and you get passed over for that promotion one time, it's like, all right, maybe next time. You get passed over for that promotion time after time after time. Like you're Jason Bateman in Horrible Bosses. Like, you're about to stand up thinking like, and the promotion goes to Covino, and nope, not Covino. Eventually, you'll be like, maybe it's just never going to happen, right?
So what do you do in that case? You just find another job.
I'll be honest. A lot of women find themselves dating a guy who's reluctant to pull the trigger and get married, and she's like, is it ever going to happen?
You got to credit the defenders who are taking boxing lessons. I don't know how they have precision accuracy nowadays. Are they hitting the speed bag? What are they doing for target practice? Because these defenders, they're not even going in for the tackle half the time. Half the time, they're not in position to make the tackle, but they're able to hit a moving target that's herky-jerky, juking back and forth. Yep. To be able to knock the ball out the way the defenders are, honestly, you also need to commend that. So we can say, Mark Andrews, How did you drop it at the 50-yard line like that, right? Again, his terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. Or you could say, man, these defenders are getting next level with their target practice.
Yeah, we call that a TJ Watt swat.
Yo, it's not easy to hit a moving target like
but
that.
You know what? I'll give you an analogy. Stars. Collins style. You know how in baseball, old fans, the boomer fans are like, yeah, we're gone are the days of people batting 300. And we realize that you rather a guy that bats 220, but if he hits doubles and home runs.
So if a guy has a good right hook, that's what you're looking for nowadays?
No, but I'm saying.
Because it's not even a Watt swat anymore. It's a left hook.
What I'm saying is, old heads would say, no one wraps and tackles anymore. And the way baseball players are being conditioned now, home run trajectory, doubles, extra base hits, home runs, forget batting 310. It doesn't matter if you bat 310. Hit 40 home runs. Secondaries and defenders are taught turnovers more important. So when you say, how do these grown-ass professional athletes not wrap and tackle the way you were taught maybe as a kid, it's because the game has changed. And
Lamar pointed that out after the game, too. When he was taking the heat off of Andrews, he was saying, this comes down to turnovers, and he is also to blame when it came to that. He was sloppy the first half, and he was impeccable the second half, but just tough to watch. I feel bad for him. And to answer your question, Rich, when you're that good, and I think he's going to win another MVP. I don't think they're out of it yet. How many chances will the Ravens get? I have no idea.
Well, let's be honest.
But they have to work on holding the ball.
That's
be honest, really it.
Covino, 3-time likely MVP, right? And he's only 28, so there's a lot of time. I'm just saying, this team with Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, the core of this team, to get back to this part of the season is hard. To make the playoffs and get to the second or third round, it's not easy. So you got to ask yourself, we talked about this before. Danny, do you remember like a year ago we had a conversation about who of these quarterbacks will win a Super Bowl?
Yeah.
And
the list was long and then very short.
Yeah, not everybody wins.
We listed them off. I remember doing this because I was trying to prove a sarcastic point because we're like, Joe Burrow, oh yeah, I'm sure he'll win one. Josh Allen, oh, he'll definitely win one. Lamar Jackson, oh, he'll win one. Jalen Hurts, Brock Purdy. And we went down the list and I'm like, yo, we just said about 10 different guys are going to win a Super Bowl in their career. Try 2 of those guys because you could name more great quarterbacks that never won. And I'm not saying Mahomes is Michael Jordan, but we always talk about how Michael Jordan prevented a hell of a lot of NBA stars from winning in the 90s.
Patrick Ewing still having nightmares about it.
Karl Malone cries about it. John Stockton.
The way I saw it, though, Rich, was, man, the mutual respect between Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, they're going to go down in history as 2 guys that competed for it and battled for it. And we see Josh Allen coming out on top yesterday. Maybe he'll win it all. Maybe he stops Mahomes from being that guy to three-peat. But I saw that as we're going to see more of those battles in the future, and we might see, and I think we will see Lamar Jackson on the flip side of that maybe next year, maybe the year after, but you're going to see that for a few more years to come. I don't think it's about windows with them.
Yeah, but it's not every time you go 13-4, 14-3, 12-5, and your fan base is like, this is it.
Yeah, but when you got superstars like Lamar and Allen, you're going to continue building around those guys. When we say those things about your 49ers, I don't think Brock Purdy's that same level of guy.
I don't think so either.
Right. I mean, he's not.
But there's stars on that team that are that level.
True. But they're aging and they're getting hurt and they're not balling the same way they were balling. I think the Ravens have a little more time. And like I said, you'll see them back again next year just like this. And maybe Lamar Jackson wins it. Maybe they learn something from that. Maybe they counteract all these punches being thrown at him, knocking the ball out. But maybe Andrews has a little bit of redemption in him.
But to win even one is difficult. When you think about, guys that were there often. And again, if you want to make an analogy to another sport, do you remember when the Atlanta Braves won their division? What felt like 50 years in a row. When they had Glavine, Smoltz, Maddox, and it felt like every year it was like lock them in for 95 to 100 wins. honestly, it might as well have been 25 years that the Braves just dominated. And they came away with one World Series, 1995.
Chipper Jones, Andrew Jones. They were stacked.
I mean, the crime dog it points to that, right? I mean, like that's
so many great players.
David Justice for a lot of it.
So what Rich is getting at is
every year you don't do it is just the clock is ticking because you look at the NFL and you say guys like Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, guys that were there year after year after year. Tom Brady's an anomaly. Patrick Mahomes is an anomaly. These guys are just, it's silly.
Lamar Jackson, for as great as he is he going to be one of those guys that doesn't win it all? That's really what you're getting at.
Until Peyton Manning won with the Broncos, which you could argue the defense carried him, all that greatness, and he had one in Indianapolis. It's not easy.
I tend to agree with you, Covino. The Ravens just need to play a clean game.
That's it.
In the postseason because their two most recent playoff losses now a total of 6 turnovers. And, Lamar, to me, is still the most exciting quarterback to watch. I'm not a fan of the Ravens, but just to watch Lamar play in that final drive, very exciting. And I want to see him make it to a Super Bowl.
I agree.
They should have easily won that game.
But look
that
at
Von Miller recovery. There's so many opportunities. The Andrews fumble. Like, there's too many turnovers against the Bills, dude. Come on.
But look from the time Lamar Jackson was 22 in 2018 till now. Dan Beyer. The records are great. 14-2, 11-5. They missed, that one off year. Then 10-7, 13-4, 12-5. Like, you gotta figure out how to get the next step.
Yes, and every opportunity is not the same. You're not the same team every year.
True.
What about if they dodged injuries, which years past they had injuries on the offensive line that would help them? This year, everything was in place. Yeah. That's kind of like how I feel like with the Lions a little bit, but I know you're talking about the Ravens, but you have to take advantage when it's your year because there is no guarantee that everything is going to go your way the next year. In fact, it's very likely that it won't.
Right. You had a healthy Henry,
yes,
healthy Jackson,
absolutely.
healthy line. That's true.
The only time in my life I can remember, and I'm sure there's another DB, but I remember when the Royals fell short in the World Series and they went back the next year and won it. So many times when you fall short, the sentiment is, oh, we'll be back. And it's like, the truth is, you're likely not going to be back. Matt Ryan, 28-3. Thought he was going to win a Super Bowl. The Falcons fans.
The only, I'm not disagreeing with you. I actually am agreeing with you. The only factor here that separates all your other examples, though, is Lamar Jackson. He's so good to count. You can't really ever count him out.
Yeah, but the magic, as Dan Beyer said, because, how do you disagree with Dan Beyer? There's something magical and health plays an issue. My two teams, it's just very close to me, so I'll speak on behalf of myself as a fan. I know for a fact there's no way the Mets could duplicate the magic from last year. They didn't even win the World Series, but there's no way they could duplicate that Lindor, Pete Alonso, crazy magic.
You can't do it without Pete Alonso.
It's not going to happen. And the 49ers, you guys all bust my chops when I'm, how many times could the Niners go deep in the playoffs and just not get the job done before a year like this happens where injuries come into play and they win 6 games?
All right, so we ask you, Fox Sports Radio Nation, before we get into things that make you go, Lamar Jackson, was this his window of opportunity because they had so many things going right? This was their year. They had health. This was their time. Or do you say what Josh Allen said? This guy's arguably the most talented guy to ever be on a football field. Once he figures out how to keep it a clean game, they'll win one eventually.
You know who was close a million times and only won one? Brett Favre. Like, there's people that had MVP. I believe Brett Favre was also a 3-time MVP around that time. And just, it's sealing the deal is so tricky. And I wish Ravens fans luck. And Dan Beyer, it was great to point out the Lions, too, because
what was the saddest loss? That one or the Lions?
The Lions by far, man. And I felt great for Jaden Daniels. And you felt great for Josh Allen, but man, what a weak-ass weekend for Lions fans and Ravens fans because that was a lot of people's pick for the Super Bowl, Lions and Ravens.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Felt so bad. I of course, didn't rub it in on any of the Ravens or Lions fans that I know, right? Because it was so tough. Like, oh, man.
There's one here I'd like to. I know.
We've been joking on the air for like 5 weeks now that it's going to turn out to be a Chiefs-Eagles Super Bowl.
Oh, it is.